Hello, people of the world. My name is Sonic's World. Really wasn't expecting to make this, but I decided, 5 nights have already passed. I might as well upload this. Because realistically, everyone else has already done a take on this. Talked about if it was a good or bad movie or this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I loved it. I'm really gonna add nothing to this besides this one thing. Don't click off yet. I can understand the critics' side of things. As a fan, I love this movie, but I can understand why the critics didn't care too much for this. If you are a fan, or you know even a little bit about Five Nights at Freddy's, you're going to go into this movie, you're going to watch it, and you're going to love it. Because you're going to see all the small little details, the cameos, the references, the this and that, and it is so cool. After almost 10 years, it's been 9 years that this film has been being worked on almost at this point. It is so cool to see this fully done. And the here, apparently they're doing a sequel from what I've heard, and obviously it's grossed so much money too. It's so good to see. It is really cool to see that this small indie game from almost 10 years ago now has flourished and grown into what it is now. That is beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's a really good thing to see. If they made like an Undertale movie, honestly, that would make sense if they made an Undertale movie. Because that also blew up too. But like, it's cool to see indie projects, indie games, this and that, get something so big done. Because even with Five Nights at Freddy's becoming this big franchise now, of course it's going to have its merchandise and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Dude, Garten of Banban apparently has merchandise. You think that's getting a film? I don't think that's getting... Oh, God, please don't make a film on that. Oh, God. I guess I could talk about that for a quick second. This film being made and being an indie game initially could realistically open up the gateway to a lot more films being made about indie game projects, which is cool because I obviously mentioned Undertale. Dude, can you imagine an Undertale movie? That would not. That would never happen. Actually, now that I think about it, but that would be cool to see. See Snowden set and the ruins and waterfall. Oh, waterfall would be cool. It would be, but ignoring all of that, I can understand why the critics didn't really care too much for this film. And it's because if you're looking at it from a critical standpoint, you can't say this is a horror movie. It was advertised as a horror movie, but you can no way, shape, or form say this was a horror movie. Sure, it had its horror elements, but they didn't do them very well. This was definitely just a movie that, hey, if you're a fan of the series, you're going to sit down, you're going to watch, you're going to be like, oh, I get it. Oh, I know it. Yo, yes, that's so cool, right? But if you're a fan of the series and they didn't have they didn't do it the way they did it, and they went full horror, dude, you're going to look at Freddy Fazbear and go, horror, 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 because he's funny at this point. If you look at any of the animatronics and you saw him in an actual legitimate serious light, you're just going to laugh now because you're just going to think back to all the memes that have been made throughout 9 years of this series. And it's just going to be funny now. So I understand why, obviously, it's a horror series. They had their horror elements. They didn't really go too far into the horror of it because you can't anymore. And maybe in the next movie it will be a lot scarier, and you will get a lot more jump scares, and you will get more but I can understand critically why maybe it wasn't really reviewed that well, because in the end, it's not really a horror movie. I don't even know what you call it, honestly. But I still loved it. And honestly, that's the only part of the critical side of things that I could possibly say was, done right? And I wouldn't even say it's done because I still love this, the overall, feel of the movie and stuff, too. I still loved it. And I honestly was not expecting to have it be this well done at all. Well, I was expecting it to be well done, but what I'm trying to say is I wasn't really coming in here expecting a good horror because I wouldn't have been scared. So the fact that they went the route of not very horror-y, I liked, and it worked for me. For other people who expect a horror movie, might not work for them. But honestly, if the critics reviewed it for anything else and said, like the sets were bad or the acting was bad, they're crazy. They're crazy. If you're just looking at the horror movie aspect of it and saying it wasn't a very good horror movie, by all means, go ahead. Because that makes sense. If you say anything about the actors, the sets, the story, any of that, you're out of your mind. You're out of your gourd, pal. All right? That was all perfect. I don't even know how you could execute it any better. And I do enjoy how the storyline was changed a bit to be different. I wasn't expecting a movie based on the books or even really the games. I was expecting a mixture of some of those ideas and its own unique story to turn into Five Nights at Freddy's. Because realistically, if you wanted a Five Nights at Freddy's film and you wanted a scary one at that, dude, you just have like Mike locked in the office for like 5 nights and he'd just be like checking security cameras and closing the doors and hitting the lights and checking the vents and this and that. And that would be it. You would basically just have the entire gameplay loop from the Five Nights at Freddy's games all wrapped up for 5 nights. And it would be very boring. So I enjoyed the direction they took for the film. I do. Yeah. And I loved it. I did. And honestly, that's the only thing I could really add to this. Otherwise, I'd just be, praising it again, like everyone else has been, because I get it. I 100% get it. Yeah, so I'm going to end this here. Have a fantastic day. And yeah,